everybody. Welcome to the stream. Watching it now and in the future. My name is Egil, and this is Steven.
Hi. After 3 weeks. After 3 weeks,
It's
we
a
are
3
back.
weeks, yeah.
Yes, there was a
Easter
Easter.
and extended vacation.
Exactly. So finally back. Finally some coding. Hitting the keyboard. That's good. And yes, so maybe a short recap where we left off 3 weeks
Yeah.
ago.
What were we doing, Steven?
Exactly. We were working on version 2 of bunit, and in specifically, we were merging some of the abstraction together into one component. And I guess this is where we roughly left off. We have a beautiful branch with beautiful commit messages. So halfway through the code. And unfortunately, I do not know where we left off. Like, what was the missing bit? I'm not sure if there's much missing. I don't think so. I know we created some interface. We complained about covariance and invariance, but yeah, we will see in the next 2 hours where we left off. I guess that's the gist.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, unfortunately, I guess we weren't smart enough to what's the word I'm looking for? Not write down where we sort of what we were doing and where we ended. So there will be some getting back to.
That would have been great, huh? Or just to have meaningful commit messages rather than work in progress, which could point us towards what is the missing bit. But that's part of being open source developer, I guess.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let me see if I can get streaming and everything working. Just need to adjust my window share ever so slightly. So, actually, Steven, why don't you share your screen and take us through that pull request? Let's just get that merged. We have one pull request hanging out, waiting for us to merge it into V1.
Let me. That's a good point. Let me just quickly open my browser.
Before we start coding, I need to finish updating my Visual Studio. It's just installing the latest preview.
Hey, so let's go. Let me present. Here's the button. I need to share my screen. This one. Awesome. Okay, so we have one open pull request. Extend mouse event extension method. So you probably know that you can click on buttons. One of the central points. If you write tests,
yes,
you have to interact on buttons or
in life in general.
Yeah, in life in general. If you're not a terminal user and not everything is a terminal, then yes. And we have from a contributor a pull request, which basically I can go here to files changed. Let's go here. Is about, let's scroll a bit down. So most of you know that there is like click and on click and double click and mouse over and mouse down. And we have a lot of convenient overloads, as you can see here, with lots of predefined values for the synchronous version of some of those events. And the person here, he wants to have basically the asynchronous version to also have this convenient overloads where you can just say, okay, I'll just press the control key and everything else is the default. And yes, that is basically the whole pull request. It's this is just, I guess, the last commit, or is it everything? Oh no, it's everything. There are 3 commits, change log updates. I guess here's not more, huh? Yeah, exactly. It's about the mouse over and some others. So all these mouse events, mouse click, mouse down, mouse up, whatnot. Here, click async. And we have a build error. That's good. That's why we have CI/CD. So what we want, obviously, is that the methods, the all overloaded methods, should be next to each other, which doesn't seem to be the case. So it seems like there's a click async, then there's a click again, and again a click async, and this order basically our style guide rules tell them, oh no, please don't do that.
Yeah, and they are, a bit rigid and a bit opinionated, but it also does help, well, I'm a big fan in general of automating everything code review wise that can be automated. And it's not a huge deal that methods of the same name is not placed next to each other, but it certainly does make it easier over time as a code base grows, and it does mean that Stephen and I don't have to actually tell the user that, hey, you've actually forgotten one thing here. So
Yeah.
yeah, have them go back, build the solution in release mode, and they'll figure out what's going on, what they need to do. So
Yeah. This is a bit of a pity here. This one I encountered also in my private repositories. So since preview 2, so maybe for folks who doesn't know, V1, so this is a pull request which is targeted against V1, so main, the one the most people of you will use. We are already supporting to some extent .NET 9, so you can probably just use .NET 9 as of now. There may come some changes in the future, and maybe V1 will not be ready or will not ever support this. That's why we have a V2 branch. But anyway, we are supporting .NET 9 to some extent. And as you can see, here's preview 3, which was released yesterday. And we have an error here, and this error is just not really helpful. .NET exited with code 1. And the problem is they changed something in preview 2 where...
Well, it does say MSB 6006.
Yeah, but it doesn't... Yeah. So I have the same issues in my private project. It's the issue is with the... in .NET 8, they introduced the new terminal locker, which obviously wasn't enabled by default, but they did this with .NET 9 and preview 2. So now they have a bit of an issue where you have to explicitly opt out in your CI/CD. They want to fix this in the future, but as of now, you have a bit of a problem because they enable this by default. And now oftentimes you just have this exit code 1. What it means is one of your tests is failing. I do even know which test this might be because we have a flaky test in V1. This is the dispose components test we also have in the samples. I mean, I'm almost certain that this is one because if I rerun this, we can do this here. This probably will agree.
It's the validate doc that actually failed. So
yeah, exactly. But it runs the tests.
But I think so. It doesn't run. It doesn't run the B unit, tests. It just runs a few.
It runs the sample tests.
The sample test, and there's nothing in there that should cause it to. I don't think there's any flakiness in them at all.
There's the dispose components, probably this one. I'm almost certain it is this one.
So I don't know if he's merged with main because I pushed a few things earlier this week that was that fixed a bunch of build errors with the docs, so that because of how they work. So maybe actually it's been solved and he just needs to merge with main or
fixes
as what is it called, synchronize with main. So that might solve it. I do think there was one thing I was thinking about in terms of adding these overloads. So we are adding overloads just for the click, but what about all the other buttons, right? So I am, debating back and forth whether or not it's a good idea to even merge this, right? Because you can just have it as an extension method in his code base.
I mean, my general opinion would be to I do understand some of our extensions. Especially with the click, where you have some defaults which are not.
Yeah,
I guess it's the click one, or where you have the click is 1 and a double click you have this event thing is 2. And if you would have left it uninitialized, it would be 0, which is not the real world. Makes.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad idea, but my concern is actually that we add extension methods to some of the event handlers, but not all. Now, another thing I think would be, and Christopher is online with us. So,
hello.
Hey, Christopher. He's, by the way, if you want to go check out a bunch of advanced low-level Blazor stuff as well, go check out Christopher's repository on GitHub. He's doing a lot of interesting things with, especially I think with animations and SVGs and things like that. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I think because Microsoft, and that's one thing that's coming in .NET 9 as well, they're adding new event callbacks, overloads. So And right now, our tests for these are based on going in and finding all the overloads, and then just trying to call them using reflection to see if they are there and they're behaving correctly based on all the types of input you can give them. But instead of doing that, instead of also maintaining the full list of all the various trigger this event with this name overloaded methods on the that comes built into bunit, we could actually just have a source generator. So whenever Microsoft adds a new one, we just generate out those events because they're literally just a nice syntactic sugar on top of a method called trigger event async, I believe, which is the sort of core event thing we have in bunit, and that will. So all these methods are actually just sitting on top, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's trigger event.
So that would be with the So that is the trigger event async, which is our the base event triggering functionality we have, and all of the helper trigger methods we have. Just call that one with various event arcs, event name, and on an element.
Yes, because if I scroll down, you can see on the left side here in the name that every event is just at the end, just a convenient way so you don't have to call trigger event async with the event name for yourself. Because otherwise you would have to know, okay, is this on mouse over? Is it a casing? Blah, 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 blah. So this is a very convenient way.
I am tempted to actually say no thank you to that issue and then just build a source generator in our internal source generator pack that'll just spit out those and add them to our assembly so we don't have to maintain them. I remember actually building them out originally and having to copy paste all the documentation in as well from the it was a whole thing. So yeah.
I mean,
anyway,
I have two thoughts. If we do this, my question is, does it make sense to have it in the first place? The whole reason we have this, besides the name, I do understand the name, but you could also argue just have one method and just don't have these convenient overloads and just ask for example, mouse click event arcs instead of our long list of properties reflecting each of the properties of that event. And because if you do use source generators, we still need some special logic because we have sometimes this one here. Oh God, now find this please. With comma here. Yeah, something like that. This is where I do see the most value because some of the events have a value which
defaults.
Defaults to something which isn't the default of the representing underlying type. And then it makes sense to have something like that. But if we start to have just that, then why not using that as an argument, like offering two versions? Still, we can do this with source code generators. I'm not against that.
I think my take would then be that if we have specific ones where we have an overload, like a default value that we want to set, we would either have that as a configuration in our source generator, or we would simply add that overload explicitly.
Yeah, that's also fair.
So it's not generated. Anyway, unfortunately, my PC wants to restart after installing the latest .NET Preview and Visual Studio. So can you paddle a bit on your own while I'll
sure. I can try. I can try to find out what we did. That might take more than 2 minutes, so that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
So that said, we have a lot of
BRB, as the kids say.
Yes, bless you, and see you soon. I'm just kidding. Okay, so we have a lot of. Okay, maybe I should also at some point, remove my local branches. I do know we have a very, very long branch name, and quite a lot of. Here, this one. So what we wanted to do, I'm on V2, so I'm basically on something which is already out now. So if you want to try V2, it is out. We have somewhat of a spare documentation how to migrate because we did a lot of changes in the. I'm not sure if it was the last one or the stream before. So we are right now on dev session number 5. I guess it was number 3. We basically went through all the changes. So if you're just interested, so now that he's gone, I can change whatever the heck I want. And yes, I would like that. So Iggy, for your future reference, I will change now a lot of subtable bugs, and I will, change the stuff I would like. So I have now admin rules. That is very good. No, kidding aside, exactly, we went through this stuff, and one of the last bits is, and this might be confusing for a lot of people, we have something called a rendered fragment. In version 1, this was the iRendered fragment, so we had a lot of interfaces. And from there on, we also had the rendered component. Let me go in here. And as you can see, a rendered component is basically a rendered fragment. The only difference is that a rendered component has also some instance. So if you have a click or counter component, then I would like to change everything. I would like to change something which is really not noticeable, like this. How's it called? This XZ bug on the XZ library? Was it this one? Am I XZ utils, or please help me out? The one where recently was discovered that someone over the course of 2 or 3 years wanted to introduce a bug. I do find this very interesting that how in the open it's still possible to do something like that. Create a backdoor over the course of 2 years with some trust you try to gain. And I could do now the same. Let's see, what can I do? Yeah. Thank you. Exactly. That utils. Exactly. So we can do the same. Introduce some backdoor. Unfortunately, I'm not aware how easily this could be done, especially how it works in C and C++. If you link a library statically, it works a bit differently than dynamically. Unfortunately, this is how C# or .NET works. Now that Igor is back, we have to resort to be nice and friendly again. It was just about how we can introduce, like XZ utils. How can we introduce a fancy way?
I thought you were talking about how brilliant I am, but okay.
No.
Speaking of, what is XC utils?
This is this. I guess I can also show it here. So this is basically a library which is
the terminal there.
By the love of God! Here, look, perfect. I can do that. So
yes,
XZ is basically a tool how you can compress stuff. You can make archives out of it. You can decompress and compress. Yeah, basically, that's a good way of putting it. It's the newest OSS drama. That's absolutely true. And it's funny because
that was what it was. The thing with the security thing.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, it's because how SSH or OpenSSH, as far as I understood, links that library. And basically, if you link a library statically, you as a library can do whatever the application can do, because that's what statically linking means. You're part of your hosting process. And there was a dude, something with 3 letters, who basically tried to gain trust of the maintainer and did so. And or multiple dudes, I do not know. I mean, it was one username. It doesn't mean it's only one person behind it, but one username. And over the course of 2 years, I guess, he gained the trust and tried to implement the backdoor with multiple pull requests. And just the last pull request was the most obvious one, where one I guess it was a Microsoft developer who noticed a delay of something seconds in the startup. He was like, hey, what's going on? Why is it slow? And then they found out that, hey, okay, that doesn't seem good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've read about that. And I also saw, there was also some comments, and the one of the issues was also that the original maintainer was basically running out of, time, steam, momentum, motivation for actually keep doing the work. So he sort of, granted the other developer access. So, but that's, by the way, folks, that's why I do this stream with Steven, so we can see it's a real person. It's not just somebody trying to sneak something into BUnit. I'm just kidding, man. So, yeah, okay, yeah. So
exactly, that also brought me to the question: can you do similar stuff in .NET where everything is linked dynamically? Probably not. Anyway,
I do think you can, right? So if you
you're often on the hosting process.
Sure, no, but I mean, like nuisance of JSON, like suppose that somebody got commit access right there and put
Okay,
something
yeah, fair.
into that DLL. Well, you can just in a you can do anything when you're running in a .NET process, right?
Yeah, that's true. I
On some
mean,
hardware. So
if we look at, for example, how binary formatter worked in the old .NET framework, where you could do a lot of bad and crazy stuff, and yes, if you allow someone something similar with the JSON, serializer or deserializer in this case, well, yes, you can just hope that there's so many people looking onto or inside the PRs but yeah, you never know. I mean, that's
no,
an opportunity
yes,
and a risk, and it's crazy because you could see both sides of this risk live in action in one pull request.
yeah. Well, you're yeah. So, but still, I think it's more about the reason why. I also think the reason why. So you have a point, Christopher, but I also think the reason why it was able to go that far with XC was that the original maintainer sort of stepped down and didn't like he or they weren't really reviewing PRs anymore. They just said, "Yeah, you are it now," and that's more or less left.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. So that gave that other developer free range, right, to basically just merge directly to main and push a release out, and because so it is more fundamental problem we have in open source in general is that we just trust. Right. We trust that if somebody does something bad, enough people will notice. And like we had with the Microsoft developer who was optimizing, something, and then noticed that it took a little bit longer than normal.
Exactly.
So that's sort of that's our canaries. That's all of us using the same open source. And if that canary one of our canaries fall down, we can sort of fix it. But it is certainly something that can have a big impact if it's not noticed, right? So
yeah, it's funny because I did a talk about
go ahead,
open source in the user group in Switzerland, and I also just while I was getting all the information together for that talk, I was also checking like the obvious things you also had in the past with Heartbleed or the Log4j incident, where from time to time this happens again, and or the latest installment before in a similar way for me was the whole drama around mock, where this topic, the underlying issue is rising up again and again. Like, how do you really fund open source projects that are a bit bigger, which have a user base basically? I mean, obviously if you have like 1,000 downloads and one active monthly user, okay, fair enough. I guess the topic is different there. It's really just a hobby
hopefully
project,
you're using it yourself, and then you have a boss that's funding the development, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a complex thing. I do.
Exactly.
I think we're going on a complete tangent, but I do recommend. There was let me see if I can find that an NDC talk from.
I guess I'm not sure. At least for me, you're gone and you're very robotic. I'm not sure if I'm the only one right now. Now you're back. You're gone from time to time, like your internet connection.
No, it's that's so I am building. I'm building.
You're building? Yeah.
I think it's literally my PC. I'm doing it.
Okay.
I'm doing a .NET test, and it's apparently very parallel. So it just eats up all my resources.
Okay.
That's impressive.
Still, while you were gone,
exactly.
While you were gone, I was also explaining that basically I'm right now on V2, and the basic idea of this branch and where we left off 3 weeks ago is to merge this one with this one. And what is the distinction between rendered fragment and rendered component? And to be frank, there is not much. It's just more, until now it was very much convenience, but we could make the API more convenient, so we do not need that distinction anymore. That I want to go to that branch. And
let me just share that video. So this is a video on YouTube with Dave Whitney, where he talks about open source exploitation, and he goes into a bunch of the issues, and echoes a lot of my thoughts as well. So he hasn't stolen my thoughts, but I agree with him. So anyway, yes. So I do think you are completely spot on. The thing we were trying to do was we were trying to say, well, we don't need a concept of a render fragment and a render component. We can just, because at the end of the day, it is just a rendered component, but we don't talk about so we might as well just say, well, this is, if you just ask us to render a fragment, we're going to render that inside the bunit root component. And that is going to be the type of the T component that when you so if it simplifies our API, we will always return a rendered component to you. If you don't have a specific component you want us to render, we will just render whatever fragment you gave us, and we will return a render component of where T component is this bunit root component. And then you can walk down that component tree if you want to, if you have components inside of that. So yeah. Do you want to be the driver today? That's fine with me. I do think my PC is building again, so
okay.
Yeah,
We can basically do both, and change it from time to time. More or less, I'm trying to find the car right now before I'm driving. So in the sense of I have to find out where we left off. Yeah, where do we? There anyway. I know we're drifting off right now, but I had this one instance in like 1.5 years ago when I was in Iceland. I parked the car at the harbor. And then I went to the center of Reykjavik. I came back and I couldn't find my car anymore. And it took my girlfriend and me over an hour to find my car again. That was really, really, because everyone looked the same. Every corner you go around, I could not find that car. And to bring back the analogy, I do not hope that the next hour is, exactly that for me. Just so much flashback.
No.
Anyhow, I do know. We removed almost all of the rendered fragments, so everything I should find here should be okay. Naming obviously is broken. For sure we can fix that later, but I guess the type itself we deleted entirely. And let me check if I can run .NET test. That might take a few seconds. If I go here.
So I just checked out the feature branch and did a .NET test, and there's 2 build errors.
Okay, awesome.
One at least.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Now I remember. Perfect. Exactly, because we did a lot of I components just to make it easier for us to make it compilable, and then we saw, we have to use the concrete T component, and have to do it everywhere. And here,
so it is sort of, to some extent, what we're trying to do is actually, it's sort of a refactor, right? We don't really want to change functionality. We just want to actually just be upfront about the type that we're returning, instead of having different types, like an iRender fragment, iRender component. So I think we went back and forth whether we should just have a concrete types rendered component or we should return an iRendered component. And I believe we ended up using iRendered component because that allows us to have covariance of the type of T component. Whereas if you have a concrete type with generics, you can't do covariance. So that is the advantage as far as I can tell.
Exactly. For example, here we have some dictionaries where we cannot know upfront, and there could be anything, like the renderer itself keeps obviously track of all the rendered components, and it can be anything. It can be your counter, but the counter has a child, and the child is obviously not of type counter, is something else. So it helps us out to come around some issues. It makes the API, or not even the API, I guess the API for the user would roughly stay the same, but our code becomes a bit more flexible, and it makes our life as maintainers easier. That said,
that's the idea.
So what is here the issue? I can remember T component does not match expected type. I beg to differ. Obviously, sorry. That has to be an I component, but that doesn't work because of... So this is exactly this dictionary. This dictionary wants to have an int, which doesn't matter for this. That's just a component ID, and it wants to have an iRendered component. And if I click on here, you can see iRendered component is covariant. So it can be anything, and it can be derived from that anything. which in most of the cases is just iComponent, or if you have user code, probably it's component based. In 99% of the cases, it's component based. I don't see much people use iComponent. It's very specific if you need this. I guess if you just write Razor code,
Well, I've used, yeah. So sometimes you want to implement that specifically, right? Because you
yes,
want more control. You want a
absolutely,
lightweight
absolutely.
component, right? So yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said like 99% of the cases you probably end up with the component base. So if you create a Razor file, this Razor file is just lowered by the compiler to something which in most of the cases is just the component base. Gives you the flexibility, but if you have something which never ever renders again, or you just need a placeholder, then iComponent is more lightweight, and you just save boilerplate code. Anywho. So this one isn't working because
you're casting it to T component, but what is?
Yeah, well, it is it's a rendered component of T component, so I would argue that should.
Do we need a constraint? That do we say that T component should be I component? It is constrained, so why isn't that? Why can't we
exactly?
Cast it
and just that we know, rendered components is defined as into these I rendered component T component.
Oh, so yes, you are in the renderer right now.
No, sorry, this is the constraint. The dictionary ones, and obviously I cannot. So because dictionary, now it's the other side. The dictionary itself is a concrete class. Concrete classes cannot be covariant in their generic terms because it could lead to runtime issues. You have to use the concrete type. That said, now I have the issue that results obviously.
Yeah. So actually, I do have some suggestions here. One of the suggestions is, and that might take us on a different path, but in .NET 8 and onwards, the component state type, which is used by the renderer, the base type renderer in .NET to sort of track each component that it generates, that is represented by a component state. What options we have new options in .NET 8 is that we can go and we can override a method that basically creates a component state object. And we can have our rendered component derived from component state, inherit from that, so that when the renderer asks for when the renderer asks for a component state, we just create a rendered component with it and pass in because basically it takes the actual instance of the object, the component object. It takes what's the name? The component ID and things like that. So that might be really useful. You might want to collapse your build output window down
yes,
so you have
absolutely.
a bit more white space to. So you can
I do agree.
It has a bunch of it
has exactly what we have for.
It has so the public methods are there already. It has component. It has.
We probably would shadow that. Because it's better for the user to have not only that, but okay, fair enough. But you want to have basically really. I cannot edit this, but you want to have T component.
Yes,
because it's not really helpful
because we know
to tell
what
the user
the T is. Yeah,
exactly.
So, but what we can then do is.
But I'm not sure if we have to do this anyway. What we're doing right now. If it would make our lives anyway easier if we just have one of these. You know what I mean? So on V2, we have a rendered fragment and rendered component. I would argue in it doesn't matter how we want to proceed, if we want to derive from component state or not. Our life will be easier if we just have one type created by the renderer.
Yes. Yeah, well, we would save some. We wouldn't instantiate another type just to track our rendered components because the renderer still needs it anyway. So I think it's safe in a sense that we will not be returning a rendered component, and we might even actually make it internal, the rendered component type, and just return an iRender component. But the rendered component would then inherit from component state. So unless people start digging around and trying to they won't see the component state methods or properties. So it's shadowed in that sense. And then we don't need that dictionary either that we have in our renderer, because that's used for
That's
tracking
true,
our render
because
component. But that
component
is all,
states has it already.
they are already tracked. Like there is a get component state method that we can call in the renderer based on component ID, and it will return us our render components, which we can then cast, or at least say, are you of type render component of T component? And if it is, we can return that to the user. Plus, that also immediately gives us access to the component tree, because each component state has a parent logical component, so we can actually walk up the tree. Not just right now, we only support walking down the tree, right?
Yeah.
But that's another issue we have, is we don't have a way to sort of walk up the component tree, and which enables some use cases that we haven't been able to support yet. So I think I'm very much, it seems to me that this is a good idea. And then we have our render component, which is the public thing that we return. But that's something we cast to at the low level. So you want to give that a go and see if it works?
Right. Yes.
Oh! that must mean I take that as Stephen convinced.
Yes, that was my natural segue of using that feature. But before we do this, we still have to make this somehow compilable.
Well, so that will solve that as well. Yes, I read that component. That should take care of it.
Yeah, I just made it internal right now, because it doesn't matter if we would have derived from component state or not. In any case, that shouldn't be going outside of the library anyway. But I give you that. That's true. So let's tackle that. So we have to go here, then have component state, and this one. I do think this class interface is always last, but we will see if this is a thing or not.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the order. So now
I thought we have some rules
because you.
I
don't think so. Yeah, base. So base needs.
It does. So that's the renderer.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
We
and
do
then
have
parent component state.
Yeah,
we do have all those information, right? So there's some things we will change in our implementation, because rendered component is usually assigned the component. Well, you can actually, you can probably delete that constructor you are in right now and go to the one below, because that actually gets the T component instance in. So I think that is legacy.
Do we need this one? Yeah, we need this one. I see. We see. Yeah, because I guess also this stuff like rendered count we still want to have.
Sure. Yeah.
I would argue.
So, but the render tree frame dictionary might not be something we would want to pass in at this stage. Probably not relevant at that part. But yeah, we want to pass the component ID down. We want to pass the T component instance down.
What does it want?
And then we need additional.
The renderer.
It needs. Yeah, the renderer, which is actually nice for us to also attach to the rendered component type, because that gives us access to do things as well. So I think it's fine to have the just a renderer. I guess what we can pass in our constructor, instead of passing in, you want to pass in a bunit renderer instead of just renderer, because we might as well have the right.
Probably also do not need the service provider that anymore.
No, because that is accessible through the renderer, right? So
how did we call it? Unit renderer. Oh yeah.
Awesome. Renderer, and then not int.
Yes, that.
I think then there's a question mark parent component. So if you remove
I did something wrong. Wait. Rendered. What did I do wrong?
You are missing.
Yeah. And here, sorry, come again.
And we need the parent component state, which is getting passed to us as well. So it's optional. So, but you basically say I'm going to pass in a component state. So our constructor takes a component state. There you go, all the way to then drop that component frame for now. I don't think we. I guess keep them around, but I don't think they are. It's just component state, parent component. There you go. And maybe, yeah. Okay, so now it's happy. I think I can't remember
mean
the method
this probably
like. Yeah, so you can just remove that because that's
exactly.
provided by our.
That's one of the things we want to do
parent.
with that.
Yeah,
Ah,
and so the whole set component, and
that's no
so that's gonna
setter.
be some changes there, right? So you can just remove that because the ID will.
Be done anyway internally. Should be done internally, not?
Yes, set component and ID. Where is that called from?
On
render
render
internal.
internal, and that will be called from on render. Yeah, well, yeah, the first time it's rendered, basically. Then we set the ID, which makes sense.
Okay, so actually, I think this might be it's taking too many steps at one time. Can you
Yeah.
undo the changes you did to this, because I think that's I think it's definitely the right direction to go in, but I don't think we want to do it
But in a
immediately.
different PR.
But yeah, but I do maybe like that we make the rendered component type internal though,
Yeah,
because there's no reason for it to be public. Might as well, protect ourselves there.
Okay,
but
that
if
brings
you go
us back to the original issue.
Yeah, so I think what we do want to do is we can have an internal, iRendered components interface. That is what we store in the rendered components dictionary, if we want to, and then we just cast that out. So instead of having an iRendered component of iComponent, we just say iRendered component and have it as an internal interface. So, or we can simply store it as an object.
Doesn't work.
We know. No, you can just store it as an object. Just make a generic type int to object, and we just do a cast because we need to do a cast anyway, right? So one cast is not better than other casts, I guess is my. So
well, one cast at a central place is better than in n places somewhere else.
Yes, yeah, I guess, but I think my point is more that you could, so if you want to avoid too many casts, we can go and create an internal interface iRendered component.
But your public interface cannot derive from that.
It doesn't have to, but our concrete class can implement both. So we have two interfaces. Our iRendered component implements both. So if you go to the iRendered component type, and that's the interface. Yeah, well, that's fine. Just internal interface, rendered component, and that's.
And use this route, but also, well.
So now you have that you can store in, and then you could maybe even add a few. So this might be an intermediate step, right? But because now we can see now it's complaining that, hey, it doesn't have component ID.
It's the same like object because we have an empty interface.
Yes, but if you add component ID to it, the empty interface, then all the red squiggles should go away.
Yeah, fair enough. Probably we want to have public int. I can just steal everything because basically we need
let's only steal the things that we want, because otherwise you would have to do you will have to implement them explicitly in at least temporarily. So take them one at a time.
Well, it doesn't matter. We only need these two mainly,
Yeah. Yeah, but the instance and
no, that's enough. I'm satisfied.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if it's actually complaining about it. Maybe do we have any warnings now? I see some red, yellow lines on your.
That's just because namespace and.
Oh, it's just
because of naming. Yeah, obviously here.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
because
if it doesn't
dictionary. It gets obviously only the I.
Yeah. So, but that's fine as well. So you can go in and add to the interface that the onRender method.
Else?
Add
Suppose, obviously.
So copy that from it. Yeah.
And here we just drop it, huh?
Yeah,
Because
you
that
can
was the
just-
whole point of doing that journey.
Exactly. And this is sort of so I don't think you need to implement iDisposable.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You do. You're right. Absolutely right. And maybe the on render there. Yeah. So I think the whole point of doing this right now is just to have a landing spot where we can get all our tests to run and pass, and then we can go on to the next refactor, which is leveraging component state as the base type.
What?
So yeah, small steps.
Private render with a rendered fragment, that would be
That would return iRendered component of, and there we would just have
What is that
bunit
for type
root
here?
component.
Where are we? I'm not even sure. Component per collection builder bunits.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Why does it say build the B unit? What is that? Is that a rename that's gone wrong?
No, that's tests. Yes. Good that we are talking about that. Yes, that went absolutely. It's tests. Is it a test? Because I don't see a single fact. Oh, there are facts. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Render fragment gives us a fragment container, so we can do the same here. Yes, we will rename that thing later on, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a fragment.
There's anyway a lot of things to do here. Anyhow. Okay.
Yeah.
And here, yes, you rendered. Oh, not that thing
it's-
again. Isn't that what we created last time? Or
Rendered component
anyway.
So a tip here, what you can do, Stephen, if you go and just reset your branch, so you basically do a soft reset, like reset back to mains, so that all the VIP commits get pushed into like your working tree, so you can see which things we added the last time, so they're not hidden behind the VIP commits. So like you basically
probably stash. I
no,
have
you don't
open
need
changes.
to.
But I have open
Yeah,
changes.
but so I would just like I would right click. So I'm using the. Let me share my screen just to show it, because I'm not sure I'm using the right Git terminology here for explaining what I want. What I'm.
Well, soft reset would mean we go to commit and have it as a stage changes.
Oh no, so you can see what I've done here is, and let me.
It's a bit. I guess it's a bit small.
Yeah, I can. I've said I can zoom. I guess I cannot zoom in. Oh, is it? What? Oh, it's equals. I see. Let's go over to the keyboard. There we go. So what I basically did is this is where you are at. You are at this one. I right clicked. Well, I can't do that because that's actually where I'm at right now. But I right clicked and then I said reset to here, and then I chose mixed, which means I'm basically keeping all the changes and unstaging the differences. So now I have a bunch of I have all the changes here. So as if I haven't done those 3 VIP commits. So basically just keep the changes, but get the changes out. So that means that if you do that, you will see the files that you have added or changed while we were doing this.
Yeah.
So you would have an answer to the question: was this something we did just to make the things go be happy, right? The file you were looking at before, I forgot the name of that. Some fake render fragment.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
I'll revert back to your.
But I mean, if I just annotate with blame, I do see that it's here from the 3rd of. We changed something here, so probably it was us. That said, it was anyway called rendered component fake. So let me close that.
Yeah, it was the 22nd of March.
March.
Make the changes. So yeah, so it's not
a
recent thing.
I just say so. I rendered component of. It doesn't matter. It really does not matter here. This pose pattern.
Yeah, now you have to implement a whole bunch of things.
So, and what else do you want from me? Damn,
all the things. Can you just inherit from a rendered component?
Yeah, probably that would be easier. Huh? Yeah,
I'm not sure
let's
if
do that.
it's
It's anyway pub-ternal for us. Then the only what is that? Easy, and I guess I do not need this even for make class non-sealed. Yeah, of course we made that thing sealed for
sure,
good
but just
reason.
unseal it. It's fine. It's internal. So just unseal it for now until we've figured out what's going on
Wait,
there. So
wait,
just
wait, 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 wait. Where is it used? Let's. I don't see any usage anymore.
okay. Well, that
What's the point of that whole thing if I do not use it?
try just deleting it and rebuild and see if it just.
Exactly. Maybe
It's
you
a
know
private.
that
It's
makes
it's a private thing, so it's
private.
inside
But
a
it can
marketing
only
helper.
be. Hello. Wait, render component. I component. It doesn't matter.
No, it just you can also just say null there. I think it's just to.
Yeah, but I would like to
It's
keep
just-
it that way. A bunch of nulls here will just be weird. Okay.
It's not explicit of what we're trying to do. Yeah. Okay, drum roll, please. Oh my god. Okay, and how many tests? Well, I suspect lots.
Directly everything.
Yeah.
Half of it is just
Oh well, actually, some passed though, so it's not all bad.
component not found
Right, that's-
exception. Component was not found in the render tree. I'm not looking for one.
No, well, I think it's part of the it's part of the logic where when we render
Well,
something, yeah,
Is it this
we try
render?
to search for the component,
Wait,
but
this
it
one
is
shouldn't even be invoked. Oops, sorry, that's wrong button.
so. If you look at the stack trace, I think in that exception you have, it will tell you where to look.
Here.
No.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
try one of the other ones
the sake
because
of it.
it's yeah, it should not throw. I think you wanna take one of those that actually is unpacked. So it might be in render insights.
Yeah, well,
So it's there. It's there. You go. It's fine component, but it is already. So the returned result base. Try to look at that. Try to look at result base. What is result base 213? What is the return type for that? Line 213.
also.
It's already so yeah. So we don't need that last return because you're asking it to find a child component of fragment container, but it can't. Right? It's already fragment container, so it doesn't make sense. So just return result base. Okay, try running. I guess your editor needs to rediscover all the tests because it's still showing .NET 6, 5, and 4 to, oh, well, not 4, but.
It is green.
Okay.
That's just from my last session, where I still had V1 open. Well, we are down to 100. Better. 102.
Yes. Woo! That's why we have test folks, so we can make complete, lots of changes and everything still works, right? Well, we can actually be told when it's not working anymore.
Okay.
So
components has found at expected position in render tree. That might be set component. I cannot find the component. Well, what does try find component ID do? We just go to all the frames. Well, we didn't change anything there, did we? Yeah, okay. It's always this method. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? We do render with render fragment, which is defined as
yes.
render.
And then we say,
and then we render that fragment, which gives us obviously the the fragment container as a return type. Even though here's like I rendered component, but basically if we do it like that, you get a. Until now, it's called fragment container,
okay, so
which is the root component.
Sorry. Try putting up. Yeah, exactly. Just debug and see, because it might be that the component we're calling fight component on is already the component we want to have, right?
Yes, by the way, I agree to lots of tests here. This case really saves us.
Yeah, exactly, Christopher. It's yeah, when you want to do sweeping changes, it's nice to know that well, as long as the logic should still stay the same.
Oh, aggregator exception. Can you please not be in there? Can you just really
Huh.
invoke test method async? I just pressed F10, so I just wanted to not step into, but I just want to step through. Now let's step into it. Yeah.
We,
So
I'm just it's
go into the
that's not a lot
render.
of space to work with on your screen right now.
Yeah, let me at least this one, and I mean I have the same test, or I do not need this right now. So let's minimize
No,
that
you
as well.
yeah, it's hard to
So
follow along.
here, probably run that component. If we go in, exactly, then we have the root component ID. That makes obviously also sense. Then we create
Yeah.
that thing. We add it to our beautiful dictionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then this is
And
just a list of all the root components we have,
yeah,
which in
because
most of the
sometimes we
cases
also
is just one
have
entry. Yeah, exactly. You can have multiple, but in most of the cases you have one. Most of the cases. Okay, that is absolutely fair. That thing is synchronous and is done. Exactly, and the
what
result
is the
is
result type?
a rendered component of the fragment container, which
Yeah,
also has
so
some
that's what we
markup, which
expect.
is empty. That I did not
Yeah,
expect that though.
it might be empty depending on the test we're running. So it's not really important that whether or not it's.
And then we have this exception. Well, the name Hex
But
does not
that,
exist, but it doesn't matter because
is
now here my super small screen, you have the component instance not found at expected
and it's
position
under
in the
the
render tree.
set component and ID.
Yeah.
So if you go in and find that method and put a breakpoint in there, yes. So that is in rendered component. What's happening there is that.
Okay. So we rendered the component and blah, blah, blah. We know that this works. And now we are in. If we look at the stack trace, we go up. We are in update display async. So
yeah,
basically that's good. Apply render event. So we are basically the Blazor renderer did its thing, and now it's our magic to stick together all the stuffs. And we have this
what we've done is
change true. Okay, frames component ID 0, and let's go into that, huh? Because we have only 2 frames.
So the try find component, it's more about searching down the render tree to find the content that belongs to the component that the user has been asking for, right? We don't want to pull out render frames for the parent or the parent's component, right? So yeah.
So here we have the component, and T component is, let me just type off T component. I hope it's readable in the
no. Oh, I think it's at least on my screen.
Okay, so it's
we can't
just
find
a fragment
container.
Exactly, and that's why this one will obviously. So this one should find something, but it doesn't because
it shouldn't really, because it's like we're trying to search down the render tree from the fragment container. So we are actually at that already.
Okay.
So we turn false, which is fine.
So now we're in the second part. We're done.
And okay, then we throw. So it goes to the else. So
and then we throw. So obviously somewhere here. Let me go in here once again. Probably I want to go in. So we know the first one is not working because that's the fragment container. But now it's the second one. I'm just entering once. Weren't there 2 frames for... Yeah?
No. So I think the problem is that we are... I think the problem is that we are rendering the root, basically what we got from Like what? No, hang on. So the type you're in right now, you're in rendered component. Can you see what is its T component set to?
Yes, here. That's the fragment
Okay,
container.
that's yeah, okay. So if it is fragment container, then it's the root component, and there's no need to like. So what we are really doing here is at the end of a render, if the user asks us to render, Steven's fancy component, then iRendered component would be iRendered component of Steven's fancy component. But that's not really what we are doing here. So if that was the case, then we would want to go down the render tree, find the component, assign the component to the instance field, and update the ID. So it's not so we don't return the root component, but we return the actual component the user asked for. But in this particular test, we didn't ask for a root component, right? So I think honestly, so if you look now, component is set to null, or rather,
Yeah, of
hang
course.
on.
No.
Instance is instance set to something. If you scroll down in your live, what's it called? Yeah, that one. This instance.
Yeah, obviously. We are
is
in. Isn't that where we are right now? We are in instance on render. No, we are not. Sorry.
Yeah, we
Apply
want to be in
events,
the
update, process pending
let's go
renders.
to
Okay.
the top of the stack trace. Yeah. So instance
Yep.
is
Invalid operation exception, which means because it's not set.
Okay. Well, I
That's
think
what we are throwing if it's not set.
yes, I guess.
Yeah, no.
But I think the main point is the set component. If you go back to the thing that called the set component ID method, that one, like no, yeah, that's so instance is null. But we're really not interested in setting because the type we are looking for is the component, the container fragment, right? That's the type we're looking for, and so it's basically is at the level. So maybe we want to look at. Actually, we could just update the set component and ID. But instead of searching for child, I think you might, if you go into try find component, it should, and that is internal into render component as well. So here it's finding frames from the parent component ID, and parent component ID is what?
Yeah, good question. If we go back here, set
what was component ID would be.
Got component ID 0 because it's a fragment container.
Yeah.
And this one is -1 because there's nothing right now.
So I think before we do what we are doing, we want to say, if you go into try find component, if component ID is, so we're getting the render frames for this component.
Parent component ID is 0.
Yeah, but maybe for now, if you just instead of saying, well, I think. We will, like the container fragment is only ever going to show up at the top of the render tree, right? That is sort of our flag. So I think what you can do, just for now at least, and try find component, we can do if T component is equal to container fragment. So if you just do that on line 20,
then you just
123, so just return. Then you just need to find the instance, which should be in.
Yeah, you can directly say that you know the frame, you know everything. I mean, you can just say from the frames collection, because we know it's index 1 basically. Or no, it's not. It's not necessarily index 1. I'm very sorry. It's not necessarily
No.
index 1. If you have multiple roots, then it can be whatever it wants.
No, but that returns the child frames for this current component. So you can't take out. That's basically what you're doing on a few lines down. So that only gives you the child frames. So unless I'm missing something here, so we're looking for a component ID. So
But component
Actually-
ID is what we give out.
I guess what we can do is we can change rendered component when we instantiate that, because then we
Isn't
can
that
just
like
set.
wait? Let me remove this really quick. We can do it later better. Where am sorry, I'm not in the renderer. I was like, don't we have a list of root components? Because exactly.
Yeah. But also when we instantiate rendered component, we can just pass in the root component, so that it's already set. So if what is being rendered is actually a subcomponent, then I think we're all good. I'm wondering why this actually is an issue. I wonder what changed. I think it's to do with that we might have had a check earlier on that said, hey, if you're just rendering a container fragment, don't try to, set it again. But we clearly didn't set it here.
You can check. I can open the pull request and just check.
Yeah, I guess that's. I'm just looking at the changes just locally here.
I mean, we are just interested in the B-unit renderer, to be honest.
Yes and no.
CS?
I
Yep.
think it also.
Probably. I'm more curious about this one. Component.
It could also be in the rendered component type.
It could be, but
because that's where we sort of. So here, you say render component and you pass in root component ID. You could, in theory, pass in the root as well, the rendered component of the. Hang on. So root component is I guess root component is an I component, right?
yes.
Yes. So fragment container is actually supposed to be inside of that.
Yes. Somewhere here with attach. Is it this one? Yeah, obviously there's this framework code.
Okay, so probably this.
By the way, have a nice
set,
day.
Yeah.
Thank you
See
very
you,
much,
see
and
you,
have
Christopher.
a nice day.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, so I think so. Actually, my assumption was that container fragment was the top level, but actually it is root component that our internal shield thing there that we render a render fragment into. So
that would mean inside our
that should
renderer.
mean that there should be a fragment container somewhere else. So actually, I don't think if you go back to the rendered component where I don't know if you saved the changes you made in there, where we tried to hack a bit around.
Always.
Yeah.
No.
So.
Damn it, where is it?
Yeah, you went into the obsolete file, apparently.
Component.
No, not I. Just
No,
rendered component.
I'm just, we are going places.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you mean this part.
That was in try. Yeah, did we? Yeah, delete those lines there. Yeah, go back to where you were. Okay, so actually stop the debugger for a bit. So I do think that it might actually not be in here at all, because if this was a general problem, if we take a step back, so you can clearly see there's about 4,000 tests that pass, right? So we are able to render components correctly. So I actually think it's on a higher level Like it's not about set component and ID because that's gonna get
No,
called
it's
in
about
every single
render,
time
like
render
what we
component.
called earlier,
Eh,
render
eh,
fragment.
Yes, so I think if you go back to the test that failed and just let's start at the root, or from the entry point there. So we basically it's our builder. It's a builder test, so that's the whole thing. So we call the render within render fragment. So if you go into that one,
Which one? The render with render fragment, I guess.
yes, because and
Exactly.
there
So
we
we have
say
render something and give me back the component, which is a fair assumption.
no,
Because
hang
this
on, stop. So what did we call render with render fragment
with
from?
the no params type. So T component would be no params. If I go back,
Yeah. And
we have
what
this one.
is actual? Actual, we're just trying to pass something in.
Yeah, it's just a builder, the arguments. You have a child.
Yes, child content and builder should have single item. Component parameter should be render fragment. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, this one.
Yeah, so what we are asserting is that when we call add child component, it generates a render fragment with the no params inside it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that
Do
line.
think? Oops. This. Wait. Not this one. Damn it.
So
don't
if you
think that's
render fragment, yeah, if you go to that method,
find components in the render tree. Didn't we change? Wait. Render.
yeah. So I think it's trying to find the container fragment, but clearly we're not wrapping it in a container fragment anymore.
Yeah,
apparently.
because we deleted that line.
Yeah.
And we did some. And I remember. Okay, let's continue here. Not
Test
render.
naming is hard.
It is very much. This is the builder tests. I'm just looking. Was it here? Yes, I'm looking for exactly this one because I'm pretty
We don't
certain that
have-
we messed up something here in this method, in one of those two. Because this one should probably not create a fragment container. This should the other, how's it called? Root component? And then obviously you want to have a find component of fragment container because this is in the child.
If you go into render tree and the wrap render tree.wrap. So we have fragment container.wrap, then you have render tree.wrap.
Yeah.
So it takes a render fragment and root render tree.
Wrap the last edit to the first. Web from the last edit to the first. As we start with the target and go from inside out. Which is okay. My way of thinking was, what was it called?
Actually, so let's try something. Run the test again. Put a breakpoint in update display async in the renderer, because then we can just in the debugger we can look at what is in the render batch, and then we can probably see the hierarchy that we created of render tree elements. So yeah.
Let's go, debugger. Let's go. Okay, I thought like if I hype him, it goes faster, but well. Okay, we are in here. The T component. I thought I see this somewhere here, but we know it's the no params.
Yeah.
Continue. Now we are in update display async.
So go and unpack the render batch file, or not a file, No, just stop where you are and just go down to your variables window and just unwrap that one. Yes, render batch and find, I think, render frames. You want to go into that. There you go. And unpack that. So now we're deep into, can you expand that a bit? So we have a bit more window, also vertical, I guess. There you go. Maybe collapse the evaluate bit as well.
Yeah, fine enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's good. So we have one component, and that's component number one, and that is the no params component. Now, if you step back a bit further, like instead of going into render frames, go into the render. No,
Damn it, where am I? Oh, here.
I think you just collapsed the window.
Yeah.
Inspect variables window.
Where is it? Wait, debug here.
Yeah. So if you collapse that down again, that and yeah, no, still render batch. Yeah, and then go to updated components, I believe. Array, render tree, diff. Just take the first one. You can unpack those. That's component ID. Yes, so that's component 0, component 1. If you go to the next two, I think that should only be, that should not have anything. Yeah, no, it says component 0 again, but so if you scroll up a bit, you can see that we have updated components. I think there's a int higher up.
There's a count too.
Up in, it said 2, yeah. So go into render frames and just render frames. So that should be 2 rendered frames for us. If you there, and oh, that's actually only 1. So if you unpack the first one,
no params. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Go into
so
the
it's
component.
the component. And it has an ID, and yeah, some of those don't necessarily make sense because it's just an overloaded struct, where the fields make sense in the context of what kind of struct it is, value-wise. Okay. So so the thing is, our code that fails is looking for container fragment container. So our code is expecting us to have wrapped our no params component inside a container, and seeing as the thing we did that made all the other tests pass before was that we basically removed us looking for the fragment container. I just skipped that because it already was a fragment container. So so maybe we've accidentally removed that bit of code that actually wraps it in a fragment container.
Exactly, that's what I wanted to look at. That is exactly that bit.
Yeah. So you might have been ahead of me there.
Damn it! Now I cannot find. I'm so bad at finding things.
We're probably looking for a method call. I think fragment container had a wrap method as well.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, just dot wrap. Yeah, exactly this one. No, not this one. Render. Why do I see? No, yeah, it was this one. Oh boy.
So actually, I guess what you could do is you can stash your changes and you can just go back to v2 and you can see where is fragment container.wrap called from. So then we can, see where we might have gone wrong.
So what we are doing here is we wrap that, then we render that fragment, which was earlier fragment container. So that.
Are you on v2 now?
No, I'm absolutely not on v2.
There you go. Let's have a look.
So this is a render fragment?
Yes, so we take our raw, so okay, so the history here is that we have the render tree like collection of, because we want people to be able to add some reusable like default render trees that they want to have always wrap any component they want to render, right? So it's like if you have your setup component or your, I don't know, route component or whatever. Like so that is what is available to us from the render tree. Now, so but for us to be able to detect when the render tree bits start or stop rather, so if that's on line as what 212, and the user's rendering started, we have that fragment container, which basically is sort of a marker component in the component tree. So at the top level, we have root component. Then we have any number of components that the user have added by calling test contact.render tree, and then we have a fragment container, and then we have the thing that the user is calling render on. So I am.
Is this the right one? Because the fragment container is the top level one.
No, it's not.
And
so the top level, very top level, would be the root component that we have in the renderer. Then we have any number of render tree components that has a child component, and then we have fragment container, and then we have the render fragment that the user passed in, which would be the no params in our case. So if you go to that method, the fragment container.wrap, yeah, and then see, can you find all the usage of that? Because I think we're missing one. Right now in the original code, we have 2.
1.
Okay, so
and then we have render tree wrap, which we looked at it earlier. Also 1.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So just for good measure, does all the tests pass now in V2?
Well, yes. I mean, at least I executed them earlier, but let's do this again.
And we do have how many, like, so I think the next step would be to have a look and see how many references do we have to render to fragment container.
Yeah,
so
green.
Because then there might be a place where we already do that, unwrapping of the fragment container. So if you stay on V2, for now, but just go and not look at that usage, but find all the references to fragment container in the code. So if you just go to, I guess, fragment container and find all references. So
well, those two do not matter. This is the one we are coming from. This is what we saw, and this one we removed, didn't we?
So
did we? Unit component activator. I feel like that rings a bell that we removed that entirely.
Well,
no, we did not. We did not. Grid instance. Wait, I can make it easier. Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. Oh,
yeah.
unit.
So that might be the issue. Because here we're sort of returning a new one. Oh no, this is the component factory thing.
Unit activator, yeah. Which is never called. Oh, it is. It was just bamboozling me.
I think I don't know if I know what's going on there.
Where's the test? I want to have that test again. Wait, damn it. Yeah, he executed all of those again because I do not know which one was failing. Oh, come on, build quicker.
So there is a method inside of
baby unit. What did I do wrong? Yeah, isn't the no params that? Yeah, that's a bit big.
It was the non params. So I'm just let me go and check.
Yeah,
out
yeah, this one.
2 here.
There's the one. It was the one failing. Let's go debug that bit. Maybe it's a bit big now. Okay, so we are in this one, and our component type is no params.
No, so if you go to the render method on line 240, 250, no 450, sorry, in bunit renderer. No, 400 something. It's the render method that takes a render fragment. It's 450 in.
That's the same here.
So here we have the problem. So see what's going on here. Line 261. We are newing up a root component, but we are telling it the rendered component is it shouldn't be fragment container. It should be root component there.
Root, wait.
So originally, if you would check out what's the word I'm looking for here? If you would check out V2, yes, it would say rendered it would say new render fragment, and
of the root
yes.
Yeah.
And so essentially, I think this rendered, so it should probably be T root component, right? In this particular case. Now, we have our root render, we call root render. And I think it's because this instance we're creating here, that is originally a rendered fragment, that doesn't have that, go find the component and update the ID. So this is sort of a special case in a sense where we would say and I guess, so if you go back to, so here, I think you would say the new rendered component, you would pass in if you can update the constructor there to take the root as input as well. And I actually think it's just, well, it's,
is that the only usage?
Yes, but I think it should take the T component as input as well. So if you do that, so just do T component of, after a component ID, you just pass in T component as well. And you assign it there, because that means, instance equals instance. And you can, in the down below, you just pass in, instance as well. No, pass in instance, you have it just above.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think because, no, yes, no, probably not. No,
yes.
That doesn't make sense. Yeah, so you're right. Oh, you're fine. Yeah, so now if we go to the set component ID and yada yada that you had before, the method that set component, and now it will say, well, it won't call that method because it checks if component instance is not null, right? So if you go to the usage of set component and ID.
Oh yeah, we will never ever.
So it never get in here. So if you go back to the renderer again.
Wait, before we continue, is there any need of this method anymore? Because in all cases we will set this now. In any other, there's no case where instance is null.
Maybe. Let's see.
Just asking.
You're probably right. Yeah. You're right, because you can actually go and actually maybe change it to be read only. Component,
and
right?
Not even that anymore.
So that's
obviously.
That's the only case. Yes. So if you delete, you can delete that now, I guess.
Then you don't need this anymore. Because it is already in rendered, so that thing is done.
I guess, yeah. But delete on render internal. Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't there be not this come? Where's the on render internal? Why doesn't it show it here on my, here where my cursor is? I expect it. Writer, please fix that.
Yeah.
I know they will all look.
Okay.
But yes, I know you're
Okay,
watching.
so I guess so. The change you also did were out in the rendered method where you said find component and find fragment container that we just removed. So if you go to
here?
sorry, go back to the bunit renderer and the render method because it doesn't return a. It was further down, I believe. Yeah, no, further up. Passing root there to the on the. There you go, and then further up again. Oh yeah, you need to change the generic. You can probably just remove the generic, right? It doesn't. Should be able to.
No, wait, we need the generic here.
Yeah. Okay. So scroll a bit up because the return type from render is not a fragment container. It's root component. If you scroll up a little bit and change the return type for the render method, there you go. And now, yes, there you go. So now it should be happy. Now it's back to being what it actually was before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I think you have some red up high up in the file. I guess not. Well, okay, here, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so it would be root component.
Obviously, this is now. We have to make that public then. But
just I component.
Wait. But no. If we call render fragment, you should not get the root component. You should get the fragment container. That's now wrong.
Well, so yeah, no. So you have to say fragment container there, but then you can do a find component underneath, right? So fragment container is fine, but you do find component of fragment container. Maybe I'm not sure though. Not sure because
what I can call render like 1,000 times with the same renderer, and I'm a bit confused now. Why should this create new root components all the time?
Because when you call render, it always creates a new render tree with a root component whenever you call render explicitly. It doesn't render a new thing inside an existing render tree. That doesn't make sense because it's individual render trees. So I do think we just want to return, previously in the v2, not this feature branch, we just returned a render fragment. So I think the equivalent to rendered fragment is I render component of I component instead of root component. So if you scroll up to the method you were in just now, not that one, that's fine to return that, that's private, but there, and just change the return type of that method to not fragment container because we don't know if it's a fragment container. It's just an I component. I render component of I component. And you can remove the find because that's something. So other places in the code base, we might decide to wrap things in a fragment container. We might also not do that. So we just don't know. If you call render fragment on the renderer, you're gonna get an I component back.
Yeah, only if
still that is out in the extension methods. Yeah, where we are. Yes, there you have to do the find now, because we know that we wrapped it in a fragment container. So now you can do return render fragment dot. So Stephen, on line 213, do.
Sorry, I was just reading it.
So that was the yeah. So that would be. So now we're basically back to what you had before. Right. You can maybe split that into a couple of lines. But yes, that should work now because
basically I can just remove it what it was before we called it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Try running all the tests now. And that makes sense because we on line 211, we actually do wrap it in a container. So we know there's supposed to be a container further down the render tree. Oh, still have some build errors or?
Here render with render fragment is the same. I guess you don't know what's going on.
No.
That's anyway that specific test, so that's absolutely fine.
Render
because actual component,
yeah,
you do not know what's coming out.
Yeah, so I guess, so now I'm looking on the V2 code base, and that method also just returned a rendered fragment before the type rendered fragment.
So
any
component
place
is
where we
absolutely
return
fine.
the I render, yeah, exactly, that's the right thing.
Ooh, we'll look at the 4 tests. Yeah, skip. Should I put skip on it?
Yeah. Nothing to see here.
Damn it, that's this. I knew it comes back. Look at this. Look at those 2 breakpoints. And I know exactly 3 weeks ago we had this. And this is wait. First before I do work in progress, what was the stuff where I just added a bunch of default off? Because there was this one here. Yes. This one is here for a reason. And now I have to check on V2 why we did this.
No,
Why isn't that here? True. I thought we did this here.
So what is that? What is that mocking helper?
Okay, wait. Okay.
So what I can do is I can share my screen because I have it open right here. If you want to.
Oh, perfect. Then you can give me a very short bio break, and I will be back in a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's give him some privacy. Hope he mutes his mic. Let's have a look here. So, no. Oh yeah, so here we would want to change this to be I guess we can just well, it's sealed, but we could in theory inherit from not a rendered fragment, but a rendered component of I component. And then here it would have to take, that would be the service provider fake. We would just have to pass in a fake, well, probably just objects. So something like this. New root component. And change this to rendered component of root component. Yeah, and there we have a method called in Hey Steven, you're back. So
welcome back. Yeah.
I think what we need to do is if you go and find this type again or undo your doings. So down here, instead of having it be, so originally it was this, but with the changes we've made to rendered component, we can just inherit from rendered component instead, and then pass in a new root component to the base type. And then we still have our mock of our service provider, which I think is what the core of the test is about. So yeah, jump over to your screen a bit.
Yeah,
so there, inherit from rendered component. No, not iRendered, just rendered component directly.
That's sealed.
So unseal it for now. It's a work in progress.
And it's internal.
No, but that rendered fragment was also internal before. So go. Just, I think it should be fine to go and unseal it, or make it, or even make it public. So it's sort of what we're doing right now is we just. I think we have internal visible too, so it should be fine, right?
No, I don't want to do this now. Okay, from root component.
And then you just pass in a new root component there. And that's it. So that should
render fragment.
Okay, just pass in.
Isn't that like builder?
Oh,
sorry, builder.
B. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Shut up.
Exactly.
Do what I say.
Leave me alone. And
Damn it, editor.
here but we did this whole bit exactly for this. Why is it not working anymore? Because this is the
Well, no, I think it's fine. Try running the test, see if it's passed.
No, I mean it isn't used. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. That thing has absolutely zero usages.
Isn't it because we are instantiating we creating it with reflection?
No. So in very earlier times, you had here really like return. We could do this now. That's fair. We could exactly do that. So let's remove that. That was basically the gist of this rendered fragment mock fake thing in V1 and V2, or only V2. I'm not sure anymore.
So that's also what we're doing in V2 now. So I think if you just go back to that, I think that might work.
It's interesting. I would be surprised if it works now, to be honest. Darn, it works. At least in 75% cases. But this one does not want to work. Compare two methods.
What are we?
Didn't I change something? Wait. I changed also something there. And now I have to find this bit. Exactly this one. I changed here a lot. I would like to revert that change, and then we can check again what was wrong here. Is this fine for you?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But those tests are not failing, are they?
Well, isn't
that's just
I thought that's the source or something. No, you're right. No. It's the get compare. I thought I was using that as a theory data, but it isn't. Sorry, that's absolutely
compare null values throws. And essentially, what are we just doing? We just is that even a test that's worth having? Like, I'm just trying to see what's going on now.
Can you? I will make this a bit smaller now again. Where is that thing to grab?
Oh, it's just get mock instance. So we're just trying to call the various compare to methods and using reflection doing that, and say if you call this with null, then it's going to throw. You could probably. So basically, we're finding all the method that is called compare to, and there is.
Jesus, why is it that big?
7. So I think instead of having all this noise, we can just it'll take us 2 minutes to write the test without using reflection and just leave it at that. So if that's if that's okay with you, we can just do that.
Wait, I'm just still not understanding which one failed here. So we have a.
It's a bad idea. It was me trying to optimize or fix like not having many tests. So
I mean that's absolutely fair, but I'm not understanding why is it failing. I mean, there's a legitimate case why it's failing. I would argue.
Yeah, I think it's because of like we changed some assumptions about the types. So I think this is just annoying. Let's just delete the test and go on. I don't think it like
late bound operations cannot be performed on types or methods for which contains generic parameters history. Well,
that's because we were using render fragment before. Now we're using a generic type, I guess.
We're not using a generic type. That's the whole point of having this render fragment fake there. I mean, we can just remove it, but I feel like this. I mean, this message is not helpful.
Yeah, I don't really care for it. It's a single test that is just delete. So just delete the generic get compare to methods from above. There's a helper method up on top. You can delete that. Yeah.
The whole thing.
Because there's like, just delete them because that's just building out test data. Like it's theory data, it's just building out. Delete that one. Just change that to be a fact. There you go. And delete the arguments. Mhm. And then there is, if you actually go to the compare to method, so there is, let's see, compare to,
Here's where we use
compare
the
to it.
fake.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, exactly. So the
Basically, what
compare
that
to,
test
so
did
that
was like,
yeah, no, so I think what the test did is just passing in null values to various things, right? And so, but you can just do compare to extensions dot compare to in that method and say, well, yeah, dot compare to, and then you pass in. So we basically have combinations of passing in null versus
also use string
we want to
empty.
check that. Honestly, I don't even care about having that test because it's just test that checks that if we check for null and we throw null exceptions if people are calling it with null. So let's just kick it to the curb. It doesn't add any. It's right. Yeah, we have null checks, and the compiler will also give us a warning if we don't check for null anyway. So I'm fine. So run all the tests.
It's gone.
Yeah. Thanks.
They are green. Green is
Yeah.
green as
okay.
Greenland.
Yes.
I don't know.
Which is actually more snowy than Iceland. So there
Exactly.
you go.
I thought that's the old Vikings trick to confuse people.
Okay,
everything green.
I think they just landed in Iceland during the winter and in Greenland during summer. That's probably, and the guys who came from to Greenland, they came from Iceland and thought okay, well, this is clearly green all the time, so that's gonna call it Greenland.
Okay. I would do absolutely the same. I do not blame them. Okay.
No.
Why do we have 20 tests on .NET 5?
It's because you should probably do .NET clean, and it's
no.
around,
that's also something we have to do. No, that's not the case. The case is here. Oh, wrong button. Oh. Label query extensions, isn't that? That sounds. You're maybe right. I do not know. You're right. That's but everything is green, which means we do here a nice BIP 3. For now.
I think it's BIP 4, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, Stephen, how much time do you have left?
Like 20 minutes.
Today, not in life. Okay.
And you were right, actually, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
So I am. So I guess next Friday might be a good time to actually start doing the component state inheritance thing we talked about. I think that would be worthwhile because I think that'll add something as well, right? We will be able to optimize some things in the renderer and change some things. So, but yeah, I guess, should we just briefly, just go over the API and see? Oh, did you push already?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I did.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So just now. Yeah. So I wonder if.
Yeah.
Should we try to clean? So I would love to keep going, but I know we are, you have to go as well. So, but we can maybe spend the last 10, 15 minutes just cleaning up the commits instead of having VIP 1, 2, and 3. We can maybe divide them up. No, you're a fan.
I'm just obviously kidding. Yes, we can do that. There were like 5 commits or so, 4 commits.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, I would squash them, to be honest, altogether. I would call them like, because I'm not sure if there's much use. Let me make this a bit bigger.
Right. So let me steal control for a bit. You're out, man. You lost. So what I did was I did the whole reset back to where v2 is, so we don't have the VIP commits anymore. And I just want to. Well, actually, I don't like that way of viewing it. So Now this was just
Yeah.
reformatting. So, well, what are the changes we have here? Maybe do split view. So this is mostly related to rendered fragment. Now it's I-rendered component of T component because we've updated the, oh yeah, method signature is now T component. So this is very much attached to the whole upload file. Yeah, this is again I-render component. What do we have here? It's also the making it generic, like T component, I component, and so on and so forth. So
I mean, for
most
sure,
of
we
these
have
changes,
to run through render. So render fragment is used a lot throughout our code base. Rendered fragment, sorry. So that has to be cleaned up.
yeah, the
for
name rendered
sure.
fragment, that is right.
Yes.
So if we jump in,
Maybe we can do this offline. That's no need to do it now,
yeah,
but
exactly. Yeah,
because it's absolutely not. It's not often, but label extensions. Yeah, that's fair. Also, probably documentation has to be adapted as well as the samples. I'm pretty certain if you try to merge that thing right now, well, hopefully it shows you it's not possible. The CI should give you a red indication. At least that's my understanding of. I'm pretty certain that we have any reference to rendered fragment in the code, which should always go now to I-rendered component. And still, I would.
And you mean in the documentation?
Yes. And now that we removed that test, we can also, in a second, I would like to make it internal again. I do not like to expose the rendered component.
No, absolutely, I agree. And yeah.
But I guess the question right now is, should we squash everything into one commit or not?
Yeah, might as well. There's no reason to have 3 VIP commits, yeah.
No, I mean, the naming, obviously, but I'm even not sure if you can dissect those commits into something meaningful, and I would argue no.
Yeah,
so I would call it now refactor.
Yeah. So hang on, let me see. You had a point about making something internal. That would be.
No, I'm rebasing right now. Or are you doing it?
Oh, you. No. At least if you're doing work, I'm sharing my screen, so people are not watching along with what we're doing.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm asking. Just that for everyone, I just squashed here. You can see squash the commits together, and
you also made something internal, as far as I can tell.
No, not now. I'm in the midst of doing that.
Okay.
Rendered component. Not that we. Yeah, exactly. Field. I also wanted to do it. Yeah, that should compiled as well.
Yeah, without
and
warnings.
Then exactly, because
we can do a quick search now for the word.
That was the point. But we don't need this anymore.
You can delete that class. No, that class goes away now. The mocking helper, you can see it's grayed out, so you can delete the whole file, I believe. Also mocking helper.
Everything.
Yeah, the whole thing is gone. Yes. Best code is the deleted code. Yeah. Hang on.
Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
Obviously.
So for the folks wondering why it built before but doesn't build now, it's because we have the setting treat warnings as errors that is enabled during release mode, and I believe Steven has switched over to release mode builds now just to see whether things.
But there was a literally compiled error.
Okay, because
there was a really compiled error. If you cannot find it using, then it's an issue.
Yeah.
I force push now, just so you know.
Yeah, exactly. Actually. Well, let's just check. Can you just string search for render fragment, rendered fragment? That is, yes, exactly. And should we do it just as the
Nah, the files and stuff. I would do it now one by one. There weren't so many occasions. At least for the files, let me do it like that. Capitalize, because that's the easiest to fix, and probably we only want to have CS files because I don't want to
Mhm.
touch the changelog MD right now. Oh yeah, this is a
So yeah,
straightforward
so you
one.
can search for something like that. That would be
I rendered component.
and maybe like do the, yeah, exactly. There you go.
I guess
Yep.
with that change we come pretty far.
I guess so.
Yeah, easy. Rendered component. Yeah, you're right. Probably it would be easier, but I do know that I will miss at the end the file names. I'm almost certain about that because I
Oh, doesn't
also the
doesn't the
past.
rename the doesn't the rename the file names as well?
If I do find in files, it doesn't rename files. No.
No, no, but I mean when you do the refactoring.
Yeah, yes,
Okay,
absolutely,
good.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Um,
I just you were just talking about missing the file names. You probably want to just do a C. Yeah.
Render components. We also have a plural form of that. T component. Can you?
Yeah, you're missing an in string element. You have that goes
Thank you very
C
much.
ref. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
There you go.
Rendered. The rest we can then really do with search and replace. That's
Yeah.
hard.
Oh, yeah, you definitely want to have the names match.
For now, I also want to only have the beginning of the names of this one. I don't because the other one is pretty easy to do at the end. Rendered component. Doesn't matter. Markup matches. Yeah, I rendered component. I guess it doesn't make sense to write T component here. Or,
No. It's fine. It's just for test purposes.
Why did because we screwed up the C ref here. Okay, fair enough. That is fair enough. That doesn't work here.
Doesn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, why doesn't it autocomplete for you?
There
you go. Oh, okay.
Even with that, I do not know since when, but yeah, obviously there's. Hey, come here. Awesome. How do I do this now with the?
No, yeah, you just say you have to have T component there as a generic. Well,
but also this way.
I think so, yeah. But it could probably
Awesome.
autocomplete for you. Yeah, now it's happy. Yeah.
I'm happy.
That's good. that's the most important bit.
I rendered component, and the last bit is rendered components. Yeah, exactly. So and now we can basically look for that. But I have Word. No casing. Match case. Exactly. We don't have that at all. Word, I don't care because damn it, there's still a lot. And they unfortunately are not the easy ones. This is the one where you really cannot. In theory, it's also I-rated component extensions. Async B unit. I feel like that name is not right.
Like B unit is not right. No.
But also the async is not right.
No. It would be fun to see a blame on that.
No, I don't want to do the play because I'm
okay. No,
I do
no
know
blame,
100% who's responsible. You don't have to use that. You can just directly finger point at me. I'm absolutely
I'm just wondering how that happened though. Like
async tests. Async tests. I can remember we split the tests and then I moved everything a bit together.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. But it also means if I go in here, it doesn't it did rename. Awesome. Okay. I thought it doesn't do that, but it does do that. Okay.
Nice.
Exactly. So don't care. Do care. Render fragment B unit. I'm pretty certain it's. What is that? It's tests, but I'm not sure for what.
It's a test. it's a test for rendered fragment, which we don't have anymore. So I guess that file should actually be like the tests in there should be added into rendered component, which is also called bunits and bunit. the names of the tests.
I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what I did. Jesus. Okay,
Well,
let's take
I
that.
did suggest that we should start prefixing and postfixing our types with bunit, but I think you took it a bit too far.
Yeah, a bit.
Was it a case of a regex gone wrong?
20 is 21. Yes, probably 22. This is 21. 21 exists.
Doesn't matter.
No, but that matters. Yeah. That.
I was
wait. The most important thing.
At one point, I was thinking
because
and it's not bunit, it's bunit. Even it's
wait.
Yeah,
really?
I'm not sure how. And that should be tests. It should be named tests. Yeah.
Yeah, what did I do? I somehow renamed something with bunit.
I think it's the
context.
types should have been called tests, and then they are now called. Yeah. So I think it's a case of a regex going wrong here, I'm guessing.
But the interesting part is I did rename as well the files. And that part is more interesting to me. Why the files? Oh, douche. Can I swear in German? So no one understands?
Yeah, that's fine.
Du Scheiße.
How the hell did that happen?
How can I
wonder how did that happen? Like how did it? Like this looks like an accident with a string-based search and replace, right? But not with a refactor.
Yes, but also the files.
Yeah, exactly. So the files would have been, unless you did a
rename test context to bunit context.
So
yeah, I renamed them. I renamed a bunch of test files. Not so much, but
it's because it has bunit. It's inheriting from bunit context. Yeah.
But why? Is this some magic of writer?
It might have been the refactor. Yeah,
because we called
it has a rule.
But we also but we didn't call it tests context. You know what I mean? I would understand if the suffix and the prefix would match, but it doesn't.
Did we call them test or tests before? If you go and look at the blame again, was the input? It was a type called input file test or input file tests.
Yeah, singular. It's singular. It's not tests.
So that's why. So writer was trying to be helpful because the type we were deriving from before was called test context.
Yeah.
And now it says, okay, well, you have a type that inherits from something that is now being renamed to bunit context. So, let me rename the file that is in. So yeah, that's probably you probably had one of those checkboxes going as well, where it says rename. Like
I did. I for sure did.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a reason for that.
Unfortunately, this is uniliteral. You cannot do this the way back.
So hang on. Pause what you're doing, Stephen. You can go because hopefully, like all the rename bunit context to test context to be that commit. Could you just revert that and then or rather check out the commit? Like, so you go basically, you go back to that time and just stash, if you could check out that commit, so you are basically in the middle of where we are, and then undo that commit or undo that change.
But then I also undo all the renaming. I feel like going through and those 5 more methods, it's not worth it, to be honest, because you see I would just go through now.
But there's so many files that you would need to rename.
It's absolutely fine for me. I can do this off stream at the end.
Yeah. Okay.
We wanted to do something else. I will do this off stream anyway. I wanted to go here. I do not know. Writer, please fix that. That method exists.
Yeah.
Exactly. So rendered fragment, we want to rename to rendered component if it's small, huh? That should be the case. If I go through, that should be rendered component always.
Yes.
When it is,
Yeah, just rename.
small at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. So you want to match on case, I guess, and you have that
Yes.
selected as well. I see
Yes.
there. Okay. So before you hit enter on that, maybe go and stage the changes you have so you can see, like, so you can just use the solution or you use your diff to see what changed just by running that. So if you stage, no, not stash, stage.
Oh.
Yeah, add. That's basically essentially what you want. Yeah, and then you can run the replace now.
Yeah.
Because then you have on stage changes.
Yeah. How the hell is that possible to have merge conflicts? What are you doing? It's Friday.
It's because you stashed and unpopped, and then you probably had things that were on stash only stashes the things you've added, right? So
didn't I delete this file here?
Yes. If you click resolve conflict, then it'll probably give you an option to.
Can you?
Yeah, you want
accept?
yours.
Thank you.
I think just take yours in all cases because it was from your.
Yeah. But now everything is a change again, and my change set is gone. What the heck?
Yeah. So to do a dot, do an add, git add again, git add dot, add all the things.
Also renamed everything, I guess. Oh no, it did not.
No, you didn't actually do it.
This
Git
new
add
IDE makes me. No, it shouldn't do that. I do not like the new IDE of Writer doing that to me. Okay, these are what? Open changes, not open changes? Is this staged or not? Okay, fair enough. It will be another working.
I highly suggest that you consider fork the Git client. I think I'm a big fan, but
okay.
I know
anyway,
you want to be a hardcore. Right. Yes. Okay. Yeah, good.
So that said, if I do this, I do this, and now replace all. Let's go. Then I should, in theory, exactly. Oh, 2 files I changed. Wow.
That's surprisingly few.
Well, I only use this one and only in CS files and only with that certain,
Yeah.
If I do now this, if I do now this, it looks a bit different. But even here, I would argue all those instances should be rendered component.
Fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's fine. Well, yes and yeah.
Well, whatever was a rendered fragment, I would prefer not to have the old naming anymore.
No, exactly. Yeah, and those are in the tests, more of them I can see.
Yes. Exactly. So get status, and there was this one test.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
That's fine, huh?
Yeah.
I would add them now.
Solution wide. Yeah, exactly. Are you doing solution?
Yes, it was solution wide. Yes. Solution with that file mask. Yeah. Well, nice. I could use also Razor, but Razor.
We don't really have a lot. Try
finding in the tests. Yeah. No. And
all right.
Yeah, migration, that's fine. MD, only MD. That's good. That's exactly what I want to see.
Okay. All right. Well, I know you are pressed for time, so let's when you get half an hour, do a fancy regex search replace on renaming of files and
yes,
yeah.
I also will go through the documentation as well as the samples because I'm pretty certain. I mean, samples probably not, Samples should be fine, to be honest, but the documentation for sure has some invalid hrefs to our
Well,
API
if you create a
documentation.
if you create a PR, like you said, I believe
It will show.
that
It will
will
show. That might be good.
yeah. We might want to actually. There's a bunch of changes. I can probably do that actually. I can spend. I have a little bit more time before I have to pick up
Okay.
kids, so I can just merge V main into V2. So we don't get too far
Rebase,
behind.
please.
Yeah. Well. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Ah, sorry. I'm
So yeah. Well, get it in some way. So I'll just delete my local branch of
dot component. What's that?
Yeah. So rebase V2 on main. Yes.
So I will just open the pull request. It's not meant to merge right now because again, documentation isn't done.
No. But yeah, it's fine to. I think. Yeah. Let's also wait a bit with merging it. I don't want it in V2 anyway, because I think it makes more sense to does it make sense to do the whole component state?
Component state, I would probably have it as its own PR. It's not like I don't want to tackle it, but I guess I would have it as their own PR because otherwise it's really Well, we have a working state, and I do feel the state we are in right now is better than before. Even if you would release V2 right now, I would feel more confident than before.
Well, we have released V2, so yeah. But yeah, you're right. Let's see. Oh, hang on. Yeah. So yeah, no. Anyway, I will let's call this a stream. Excellent talking to you again after such a long time.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then now we see us more regularly, I hope.
Yes,
like
I
next
think next Friday we are on as well.
Yes,
so
at least for me.
If anybody want to come, yes, me too. So if anybody want to come hang out and code with us, that would be excellent. Until then, have a great weekend, Stephen. Everybody,
you too.
Have a great weekend, and thanks for coding with us.
See you in a bit. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.